Good morning, Gearheads. Welcome to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM. Excited about the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the season finale. I can't believe we're already there. We're about an hour and 10 minutes away from the race. We are live in Austin, Texas, home of the United States Grand Prix. This is John Massengill sitting in studio with Les Kaiser.
Good morning.
And Jonathan Green is not in studio. He's still down at the Toyota Racing Series.
No! Oh, mayhem!
Wreaking mayhem down there. But we do have a very special guest, very excited to welcome to the studio, Dave O'Neill, the former Haas F1 team manager. Dave, welcome to the show.
Morning. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming back in studio with us.
I love that, we don't have to call down and beg somebody on the perch for information. Can we get 20 seconds of you, sir? No, we got Dave O'Neill in studio. So you folks get to participate. We've got a Facebook stream running.
Yeah.
Ask your questions. Just post them to that comment. We're watching that as well. If you want to join in the conversation, have a question for Dave. Ask him, why did they do that? Dave's always great answers for that.
Yeah, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter and or YouTube, and but of course you can always call us too at 512-643-LIVE, 512-643-5483. But all right, let's jump in and talk about qualifying. Lewis Hamilton on the pole for the first time since Germany. And
Sebastian learned pirouettes, apparently.
yeah, Sebastian, and I'm so excited that we have Dave O'Neill to talk about this, because I was thinking about Ferrari, how they didn't even get the final lap in for Leclerc, and I'm thinking, is Ferrari just as big a mess on the inside as it seems like on the outside? And Dave, I know you, because of your relationship with Haas at the time, you got to work with Binotto, but what do you think about that? Do you feel like they're mismanaged, or what do you think's happening with these guys?
I mean, I don't think so, to answer the question quickly, but, there's an awful lot of the mechanism you've got to get right to get the qualifying done, and obviously you want to be out last. That's when the tracks are quickest. But also some of the simulations don't, simulate cars braking and slowing down and, tailing everyone up. So, and of course, there's a gentleman's agreement there that you can't overtake each other because you're all on your preparation lap and then going into your flying lap. So what happened yesterday, I don't know because I wasn't there, but from the outside, I would have thought that, the stack up of cars and where Ferrari got out in track position for qualifying accumulated to them missing the green light, for 2.5 seconds or whatever it was to get Leclerc his lap. So it's hard to simulate those sort of things. You got all sorts of things. I know it was dry yesterday, but sometimes you have weather that gets in on the mix.
So you don't see this as a continuation of conflicts between teammates and some of the things that are going on there?
I don't think so. Like Charlie Whiting used to say, just remember what comes around goes around. So, if you do step your foot out and trip someone up, they're going to get you next time, So, I don't think so. I mean, it's good to have rivalry within the team. It's healthy. It pushes the drivers on. But I think, Vettel's a master at it. Going back to Malaysia in 2014 or whenever it was, I think, when he was told to stay behind Webber, he didn't do it then, So
Multi-21.
Mm-hmm.
So we know he's capable of it, but I don't think that was on his mind. Maybe he was tired. He's just had his baby. So, little baby boy.
There you go. Number 3.
That's right. Yeah, and I think he didn't get there till Friday because of his birth of his third child. So yeah. Well, I'm think about the mistakes Ferrari has made this year, but talk about Binotto with your being able to work with him. He was head of powertrains at the time that you were with Haas.
Yep. Yeah. So he was he was the main man there, which helped integrate the Haas deal with Ferrari. My experience with him, very kind, clever guy who could see miles ahead down the road, rather than running around in circles sorting things out. He he seemed to give people the authority to do things and manage their departments. And from what I saw, I was just in the on the house side of things, but being within the building, it was
Yeah.
pretty well managed from his side,
Well,
well in control.
that's good to hear that he's a clever guy, and I mean, you want somebody like that at the head of Ferrari. It's good for the sport.
You know, I got to ask though, calm in the heat of battle, you want that from your strategy, but I always think of Italians being very animated, very outgoing, very emotional. Uh, does he fit the management style of Ferrari corporate?
Very corporate. He's also got a bit of Swiss in him, I think, as well. So that probably helps on the organisation side. Um, but yeah, he's a corporate guy, and I think he's been in the building for quite some time, so that it's bred into you from that point.
You don't think it's going to be a swift kick out the door if they don't like what happens? He'll get a little more compassion.
I don't think so. It's hard for us from the outside.
Sure.
When you look at any kind of sport, and even I find myself thinking about it when I'm, not in it and I don't know all the answers. It's really difficult to sort of pass judgment. You can only pass judgment on the experience you have, and you're still probably missing a few of the elements. So
Hmm.
um, I don't think so. I think it'd be a bad thing if they did do it. They have got a quick car. Um, they found the time. They've got the cooling and the aero and the power mixture right. Um, you got to say, Leclerc's doing a fantastic job. Um, he's definitely pushed on Vettel this year. And pound for pound, I think that he's been the better, if you like, second driver as
Mhm.
opposed to Mercedes and Bottas. On that side, I believe he's outperformed as a second driver. Um, So yeah, interesting. I guess next year for things to come and how the
Yeah.
cars are going to perform at the circuits, whether they're grip related or power related circuits, and that's where Ferrari need to neaten up and get things in one bag rather than being great at certain circuits. The power led circuits, whereas Mercedes have got a good strength in all of them.
We talk about Ferrari, the problems they've had, but they they are battling against a historically fantastic team in Mercedes. They've just gotten everything right these last few years, and Ferrari's given them a run for their money for these last couple of years for sure. And we have to realize that they Mercedes has done so well that I mean the statistics and the performance of the car the last few years are just so phenomenal, and that Ferrari's battling that. I saw a team picture of Ferrari yesterday. I was looking at it going, they all looked excited and happy to be at Abu Dhabi, and I thought, they really have accomplished a lot. And Mercedes is the juggernaut that they are. So yeah, I guess you'd have to say they've had a successful season. Any other team would be ecstatic to be in there, but I always come back to the extra money, the what is it, the historic money that they get,
Yeah,
that I think, okay, that because it's not I don't remember the number, but it's a big number. And, money is what makes this every car faster. So, but all that being said, you still hate to see Charles Leclerc not get his last lap in, and because you want him to, you want to see that, you want to see that how fast he can be because he's young and exciting driver. So
yeah, agreed. And I think it's in hindsight, it's nice to have a little guess, but he could have split the Mercedes there. I think
yeah,
on that side. But going back to your comments about the teams and the money, one of the things that Mercedes have got right, um, and they're making history doing it is, in my experience, they keep the people. So they're keeping the
hmm
people, even the mechanics. You think, oh, it's just someone who's sort of fitting bits to the car. One of the bits is they treat everyone well within the team. If someone makes a mistake, it's all done. You win and lose together, and the mechanics are tied up to good contracts as well, so the secrets aren't spilt as they move through
hmm
teams. Um, and I guess that applies to a lot of things in life. You know, is building that team and keeping it, and like you refer to it as the juggernaut. They've kept it all in the bag for those years that they got started. And I think that's the key to running a team and having a successful team that breaks records. If you look into anything like soccer, I guess, and some of the American football, the teams that have stayed strong have been the ones that have stayed together, won and lost together. And I think that's what Mercedes have done. So, I mean, remains to be seen what, both of them are getting towards the end, Hamilton and Wolf, what they do in the next couple of years and with the rule changes and whether they, as a company, want to keep going.
You know, just talking about the drivers and the salaries, and obviously, I mean, this season, I feel like the biggest focus as far as inter-team rivalry is Vettel and Leclerc. And the numbers that we had on salaries was like Leclerc was around 4 million, Vettel was 45 million.
Yeah.
I mean, 10% difference. 10% of Vettel gets you Leclerc, but look at the results. My thoughts around that are how much is Leclerc at risk? I mean, we don't know if there was a salary adjustment at the end of the season or what has gone on most recently, but that's where they were. When you're in the team as you've been, do you start looking at that? Do you make a change of contract before it's up to just really solidify that driver and keep the team together, as you stated?
I think talking about two different teams there, A and B really. If you look at the works teams as opposed to the midfield teams like Haas or Racing Point or something like that, for example, you also have to look at who brought Leclerc up from karting and who paid that, and that's kind of where it all started. So the figures, I guess, are projected. He was always due to go to Ferrari, with the management he had, which is all road, Nicholas Todd. But once you're in Ferrari, they take over and decide. And I guess part of the platform is you have to do the year, and once you've done the year, they can then start thinking about where you go from there. But I'm sure they have their claws tightly in and well under control on that side of things.
Yeah.
And again, you'd like two Leclercs, wouldn't you? And put the other 40
as long as they
million
don't
into
hit each other,
development.
yes,
Yeah.
I would.
Well, let's run down the qualifying yesterday. So we talked. Lewis Hamilton was on pole only the fifth time this year, and the first time since Germany. And I wondered if he had a little to prove. Going, you know what? I've already won the championship, but let me just show you guys how I got here, and put out an amazing lap to win pole. So Bottas on second, and Max Verstappen in third. Charles Leclerc fourth. Sebastian Vettel fifth. Alexander Albon, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz, and Nico Hulkenberg in 10th. And then Sergio Perez, Gasly, Stroll, Kvyat, Magnussen, Grosjean, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Russell, and Kubica wrapping out the qualifying. And, of course, Bottas going to start at the back of the grid for a power unit penalty. So he's not going to be – that'll be an interesting one to watch this race is – get to see one of the guys in the fastest car on the track come back from the back of the grid.
Yep, and also how much they can wind it up for him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think it's going to be fun to watch him. Absolutely, just because, you're at the back. You pretty much got nothing to lose. It is the last race. All those things are said. You got the manufacturers, constructors, championship on the team. So you just, just don't go Harvey Wallbanger. Just come on up to the front.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing with Abu Dhabi is there's lots of runoff area, so you can, if you do want to make a move and it goes wrong, you normally can get away with it on that side. However, there's plenty of sand there as well, so that's not great for the cars.
Don't break that surface tension of that. And remember, this is that one where they apply that chemical, almost adhesive-like, to secure the sand for I forget how many meters away from the track to try to cut down on the sand that'll come up, at least until it's touched.
It's like hairspray. They spray it all down.
Aquanet. Yeah. There you go.
Well, I want to let's take a break, but when we come back, Dave, I want to ask you about go into that circuit, what it's like there, and all that. So you listen to Speed City. We're live in Austin, Texas, about an hour from the Formula One Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and we'll be back after these messages.
Hello, I'm Jenny Gow from BBC F1. You are listening to Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM.
All right, welcome back to the show. Sean Massigo, Les Kaiser, and in studio, our guest, former Haas F1 team manager Dave O'Neill. And Dave, you've been to Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi, in the capital of the United Arab Emirates. And this facility from the outside on television looks insane. And the price tag was, what, over $1 billion?
Yep. Yeah.
What's this circuit like to be there in person?
Well, the circuit is, as you can see on TV, fantastic. It's so well manicured everywhere, from kind of a mile or two out, really, as you're coming in. But the facility itself is just it's another 3 or 4 levels to anything else you can go to. Not only that, it's gathered pace with popularity, with people going there for weekends. What they put on, concerts, also really easy to get to. There's so many flights into the UAE. It's an hour and a bit drive from Dubai. So just one long straight road into Abu Dhabi.
At whose speed is that? I've seen how they drive over there.
Yeah. It's pretty dangerous in some places, actually. But yeah, some of the teams stay nearly in Dubai, just for the costs of the hotels. That's the way I guess they get gathering their money back, is all the hotels around stick the prices up. They all own them. But yeah, it's fantastic facility. They thought of just about everything. It has been designed with people that actually use the garages. They've got like air curtains in front of the garages, so you can have the doors open and have the 40-degree heat, but inside,
Yeah.
it's a comfortable working temperature, as opposed to being at somewhere where they don't go now. But Malaysia and maybe Singapore is
Miserable.
for a week. You're sweating.
And this was built in 2009, so it's been 10 years. It's hard to believe that it's already been that long. But It reminds me of the way you're saying that everything was perfect, of the way the teams talked about Circuit of the Americas here in Austin when it was first built, and I'm assuming that still is an impressive circuit. And what was your first when you first came to Austin? What did you think?
Um, I mean, it's a cool circuit for sure. The track, we walked the track straight away as soon as we got there. And again, really interesting track. We thought the smaller stuff was going to be a little bit, you know, um, sort of Mickey Mouse, but it wasn't. It turned out really well on that side. Um,
What kind of like what, for example?
like I think the last few turns, as you come down 12 into
Okay.
Into the
you know,
stadium.
into the stadium area. Yeah. But you know, it turned out well. It was a great circuit. Facilities wise, you know, it's pretty much like any other circuit that's been built. The garages are one of the smallest on the calendar, so they could have maybe gone bigger on the garages for the teams. Um, if any other teams come in, I guess you know, the other teams will have to lose I don't know, half a garage each to accommodate any of
Right.
those, which is some of the things need to be thought of for 2021, you know, on these older circuits.
Interesting. You know, we had Tony Stewart join us, Formula One weekend here, and he brought a NASCAR and one of those and ran it on the track. And it's amazing everybody's perspective. I mean, almost without a miss, their first time here is this is beautiful. It's first rate. And they pick the different parts that are difficult. You know, he was talking about how good the track was and how much you had to really study and think about it in the style of car he was running. And then, you know, when he mentioned whoever designed it, and we mentioned it was Kevin Schwantz, he was like, "Oh, well, that explains everything."
Yeah.
You got a genuine world champion that had their hand on the drafting board.
Yeah, Kevin Schwantz and Tyler Hellman are the ones that designed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tony is not one to hold back about his opinion. He will tell you exactly what he
Oh,
thinks
yeah.
about whatever you ask him.
Priuses, you should hear him rave over. Was it rave or rant over Priuses?
There's a little of all of that when he's talking about Prius drivers. But well, anyway, back to Abu Dhabi. Sorry for distracting us back to Austin, but it just reminds me of the way people reacted when they were here. But yeah, it's 3.451 miles, 55 laps, and what about a maximum speed? I think about 210 is what they're saying. I didn't see quite those speeds during qualifying, but yeah, a little over 200 miles an hour. And what are we thinking? A one or two stop today? What do you think, boys? What do you think, Les?
I think it's going to be a single stop. Looking at some of the things that were going on, temperature wise, that was some of the things that really historically it's been a one stop for the most teams, isn't that right?
Yep. And I think from what I'm hearing, it's going to be one stop. I can't see any advantage. The pit lane loss and also the track as well.
Yeah, I think in fact I think it may have been Hulkenberg that's starting on a medium.
Yep.
And, you know, one of the conversations I saw about it, it's like that might actually be better because he's going to get the opportunity to have his pit cycle away from everybody else. He might actually make some good progress forward. And then, you know, hopefully not have any more conflicts on the pit lane. But we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, and also the safety car is quite a low percentage, 20% safety car over the 10 years. So you know, it's all in all, it's pretty simple race, I think, on that side.
And what about good racing in general? You know, we talk about certain circuits are more prone to either having really good racing or not. It seems like this is pretty good racing here.
Yep. Well, you've got the DRS zones, which are laid out quite nicely on this one, and also the straights. You know, got a couple of decent straights that people can gather back track position.
Yeah.
You know, for that side. Overtaking. You know, there's a little bit of overtaking.
I hope so for Ferrari's sake.
For Ferrari, yeah. Spots to overtake them. So, yeah.
We haven't talked about Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. This could be talk about good racing. Anytime you can you got Leclerc, Verstappen, and Hamilton. 1, 2, 3, Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc racing. I mean, this could potentially end up with some pretty good racing and guys that are not afraid to be aggressive about it.
Yeah, agreed. I think, the stats say Verstappen's never led a race here. I'm sure he'll want to. And also, we don't know what Honda have done as well for this race as well. They seem to be talking in the press that they're in it for more of a period of time than we thought. So, they have nothing to lose on this side. So yeah, maybe they'll ramp it up a little bit.
Y'all remember at the beginning of the season when it was the Red Bull team in general, may have Christian Horner, but they were saying they were hoping to win or predicting they would win 5 races, and everybody was like, 5 races, Red Bull, against Mercedes and Ferrari, but they've won 3, and with Max Verstappen sitting in second, potentially they could win 4. So obviously the Hondas performed pretty well, and a little surprising. I'll have to admit that's surprising to me.
Yep, and to me as well. I think they've done a great job. They work well together. 2 different factories, unlike the likes of Ferrari, where they're all in one building. The communication is difficult when you're in 2 buildings, 2 parts of the world.
Yeah.
So I think Honda have done a great job, but also Red Bull have dragged them into the mix as well. I think on that side. Also starting off with the way they did it with Toro Rosso. They gathered an awful lot of good data that
starting with
right, and also had some good young drivers.
Yeah,
pulling it around.
Do you think that Red Bull can grow the number of wins next year?
Good question. I think that you got to say they're going to have a good car because they always produce a good car with loads of downforce. They've got 2 good drivers. I wouldn't change that driver lineup personally. I think certainly Albon, I'd keep him there. He's just gone. Since he's gotten there, he's gone from strength to strength on that side. He's got some good data to look at as well with Max.
Oh yeah.
And I think Honda still have this bit between their teeth about the ringer they went through with McLaren, and they have a point to prove. And that's the way the Japanese are, I think.
Right.
Jonathan always says that he said it about Honda. He said it years ago when they were struggling. He was going, don't give up on Honda because they are not going to give up. That is a cultural thing that they will make that right. So, look, we'd all love to see Red Bull winning more races because that means that it's not just Ferrari or Mercedes and Ferrari winning. So, let's see if that happens. Look at McLaren. We all really didn't think that they were going to. That to me, that's the story of this year as far as manufacturers go, is that how well McLaren has done.
Yep, they've come back, and they really have. And just looking at the results again from yesterday, just to see how competitive those 2 drivers are. With a 10 and 11 knockout for Norris on the qualifying. He's done a fantastic job this year. You have to take your hats off. To Norris,
I think he is. To be honest, I think he is the top driver this year.
I agree.
I think the skills that are there, with an extremely respectable Albon behind him, those 2, I think, though it may not have always showed in placement and finished things, I think those are the 2 most extreme surprises in who performed that you didn't expect to see it.
Yep, agreed. And we all talk about, the young driver talk has stopped because Verstappen smashed that at 16 in Japan. But we also have to remember, at 19 years old, what Norris has done. He's still a kid.
Yeah.
So I know I wasn't that together at 19. So.
Yeah. European driver. He wouldn't have a European driver's license yet in some areas.
He is still a kid, and that's one of my favorite things about him. He just acts like a kid, and if you follow him on social and any interview you see, he's just having fun. He's out there having a good time. He obviously takes his racing seriously, but when he's not behind the wheel. He's having fun and being a 19-year-old kid at the same time. He's fun to watch, man. He's fun to have in the sport.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about me that way? Still acting 19.
Well, you do still like 12. I mean, 19 sometimes. Still.
There you go.
That's why we like you, Les.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So going down the grid, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Verstappen, Leclerc in fourth, Vettel in fifth, Albon. Yeah, we got to interview Alexander Albon here in Austin when he came. And in fact, we got to interview almost everybody. I think Ferrari and Mercedes, the only two we didn't get to. Funny how that works. But Albon was he was a very humble guy, very nice, more so than just about anybody on the grid. I guess, being one of the newest, being just brought up. But he was a very likable guy.
Very
And
polite.
yeah.
I was going to say politeness and a sense of maturity, to be
Mhm.
quite honest, was well beyond his years.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it is, to be honest. I can't say I ever said that about Max.
No.
I still saw kind of a bullish, boastful teenager.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to argue with you on that one. When we interviewed Verstappen, I was expecting more of that, but he was very relaxed. He was very confident.
Let me clarify. At the age that Albon is, I felt Max was
Oh
boastful.
yeah, okay. Because now I don't know.
I
think
think he's humble and
he's
easy.
settled in, hadn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah. But he
Something clicked, hasn't it?
yeah.
I think, maybe sort of, I know he travels with his father and all that, but I worked alongside his father in A1 when I did.
Oh, really?
A1,
Bios?
But Bios, you could see, and obviously an awful lot of Max in him, but I think there's something that's, the vine's been split and he has taken his own path. He's very forgiving now, but he's still very strong at,
Yeah.
and determined in what he wants to do. If something happens, he just says, "Oh, that's racing," type thing. So,
We have to remember how young these kids are. It's just
yeah,
crazy. I still saw in Austin when we got to spend time in the press conferences. Somebody asked a question in the audience from the press, and it was one of those questions that's like, why do you react this way? And I saw him bristle up and still become a little of that more strong Max come out of that. But when we interviewed him face to face, he was really very, very calm and confident and relaxed. But all right, let's go ahead and take another break. And when we come back, we have a couple of clips we're going to play from our interviews that we've done recently. You're listening to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM, live from Austin, Texas. Back after a quick break.
Hello, I'm Felipe Massa, and this is Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're about 35 minutes from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in Formula One. And if you want to call us and join the conversation, feel free, 512-643-LIVE, 512-643-5483. And we have our guest in studio, Dave O'Neill, former Haas F1 team manager and local Austinite now. And glad to have you on the show, and glad to have you here in Austin, Dave.
Thank you.
Here's your chance to ask questions. Reminder, we're streaming on Facebook. If you post comments there, we'll bring them up to Dave as well.
Yep. Hey, I want to play a couple of clips we've got. We had some news over this last few days that Nicholas Latifi will be replacing Robert Kubica. And we got to interview both those guys heading up to Austin, and in Austin, we caught up with both of them. In fact, I want to play this little clip from Robert Kubica. It's funny. We put these out on SoundCloud, and of all of our interviews, Kubica's interview has had the most. We've had like 2,000 downloads of that specific interview. And but yeah, let's play this interview with Robert Kubica.
Unfortunately, this season has been a very tough one. I think no one in Williams is happy about our performance this year. But on the other hand, I have to say that in all those difficulties, there have been also some positives. You know, I'm back in the sport after nearly 9 years, nearly not racing, and this is something big. I would say, you know, a lot of people forget that. For example, last time I have been in Monaco was 2010, and you know, I have been big fan always of street circuits, so I had always good memories. But I was going to Monaco, and you know, I was just looking forward to discover if all those positive feelings, positive emotions, they will be there. And for example, same here. You know, it's my first time in Austin, first time on this track, so. A lot to discover, a lot to learn, but all in all, I think it has been a tough one, but it's still something to be better here than staying at home.
So, Dave, I mean, it's really amazing that he was able to come back to the sport at all. And what did you think of his 2019?
I kind of felt disappointed. With what happened. Again, you know, we weren't inside the team, so it's difficult to find out and know whether he was getting all the same equipment as George.
Yeah.
There's a tie up there with Mercedes and George, etc. So I don't know. You know, it's difficult to say. But
on that, let me jump in on that. I was surprised when they pulled him in 3 races ago to conserve parts. And it was publicly stated that's why we pulled him in. To me, that would have just taken the wind out of my sails for the rest of the season. Honestly, for both drivers on the team. It seemed really unusual to acknowledge we're going to conserve parts for the season.
Yep. And, you know, to the outside, well, that, you know, you're quite right. It's like, you know, that's not fair. Why are you doing that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're probably referring to the front wing, and a front wing takes an awful lot of hours to make. Now, I think one of the problems with the car this year has been the front wing. I think he mentioned that in Japan when he had the wrong front wing on, and he went off in one of the sessions. I think it was maybe FP3 or qualifying. I can't remember. But I think that they found the problem, and that is the front wing. So when they change tact and say, okay, we're going to go with, you know, Mark IV front wing and V2 side pods and, you know, these cooling ducts and this rear wing, to create that package and then make it and then bring it out to the race and then test it, is a big commitment. And when you're struggling, some of the times in the smaller teams, in my experience, you only make one set of parts because, you know, if you're not 100% sure that you're going in that direction, there's an awful lot of money, you know.
Right.
A front wing is $250,000.
Wow.
to develop it, from CFD into the wind tunnel and then start to manufacture, it's an awful lot more money than the 250. So it's a massive commitment. And then deciding who has the front wing on. It's normally the number one driver, and it's discussed with both drivers beforehand. And of course, we're all humans at the end of the day, so you can't, if you can't take it on the chin, you've got to tell people over the radio, and best to ask for forgiveness than permission,
Right.
Yeah.
about whether the wing was any good. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say, but I think that's where their struggles came from, was the front wing, and they had, I don't know, guessing with my experience, probably 3 or 4 wings undergoing testing. You can't test anymore, so the only testing time is FP1 and FP2. FP1 is normally pretty dirty at the circuit, so the data you're getting,
Yeah.
you're waiting for FP2 to come along. And then once FP2 comes along, you're losing your setup time for qualifying to go into FP3. So there's a big trade, but when you're in trouble, sometimes you have to forfeit the sessions to get your car in the right position for 3 or 4 races down the road.
Yeah,
Ouch.
it's got to be frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, we heard from we had the current Williams driver, Robert Kubica, but now I want to play this clip. This is the incoming to take Kubica's seat, Nicholas Latifi, F2 driver, who's actually was racing this weekend. But we've got a little clip here. We asked him about fitting in with the team, with George Russell and the rest of the team. Let's play that clip.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get on with George quite well. As you said, last year we were racing against each other in Formula 2. Prior to that, never raced in the same series as him. But yeah, we weren't teammates last year, so let's say not. You're always, I think, the closest with your teammate as you spend the most time with them. But yeah, we got along very well, very friendly, and especially this year, having the opportunity to work a bit closer together. I think we have a good working relationship as well, as a good personal relationship on a friendship level. So should we be teammates next year? I mean, so secret. My goal is to arrive in Formula One next year. I think we would make a very good pairing, both for the working relationship for the team, but also just on a personal level. So far this year, I mean, my first experience with the team, I'm very happy where I am. I feel very comfortable. The team environment, right from the first day at the factory, the first day on track with them. Everyone from the mechanics, communications, media team, hospitality, engineers, just everyone very welcoming, and I feel like I fit in quite well here.
So, he's towing the company line. So he's probably being honest, but you got to say those things at the beginning of the season, or when you're about to go race with your teammate. But one thing I noticed about both the Williams drivers for 2020, Russell and Latifi, they're both really tall, aren't they? Isn't George Russell also over 6 foot?
Yeah, he's tall, but he's also the right weight as well. He's around the 70 kilo mark. So.
And
Nice.
I heard somebody talking this weekend about how when a team has a really tall driver and a really short driver, how sometimes that can be a challenge. So maybe this will help Williams next year with two really tall drivers. But hey, let's go down the grid a little bit. We're talking about qualifying, and everybody did, and we got down to Albon, and of course Lando Norris in 7th, qualifying ahead of his teammate in 9th, Carlos Sainz, and Daniel Ricciardo in between there. And Daniel, did y'all see the blow up of his car? I guess it was free practice 2. Man, that was a spewed oil all over the circuit. That was a pretty nasty little engine failure there. Did y'all see that?
It's always amazing to me. I mean, the way things appear to blow up and all that kind of thing, with the technology we have now, how quickly it then gets resolved, even if the marshals get involved. But all of that technology and the cleanup and everything, I feel are unsung heroes when it comes to the race or the next session. What they managed to clean up, because I've spilled in the garage, and it's there 3 days later. I'm still trying to clean up.
Yeah, same as the kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different ways. It's knowing what is spilt is the important bit. So the teams get onto the circuit or the race director and say, it looks like it's a power unit, so it's going to be engine oil or water or whatever is in the system, and then that helps the clear up whether you put some other dust down first or the cement. And a lot of the circuits have different ways of cleaning up first, whether they soak it up first or throw dry cement on it.
Gosh.
Speaking of qualifying, I was looking at some of the stats. Great website, by the way, statsf1.com. And this year, so we talked about Hamilton having only his 5th pole. I say only because he won the championship. But Leclerc had the most of the year with 7, and Bottas and Hamilton tied both at 5th with 5, and then Vettel with 2, and Verstappen with 2. So, and constructors, Mercedes had 10, Ferrari had 9. Surprising. I don't know why that. I would have thought it was a little more weighed towards Mercedes, and Red Bull 2. So, also, did you guys notice? We talked about it during the break, Dave, but Fernando Alonso on the Sky broadcast talking about maybe getting back into Formula One in 2021.
Yeah, I mean he's still got more to give as far as I'm concerned on that side. He's a character. I think he got robbed.
Yeah,
where he got put. On that side, some silly decisions made there, maybe from the management side that was helping him. But yeah, it'd be great to see him back in the sport. 2021, there's a lot of movement there. This year, not really much driver movement, but 2021, I think there's a few openings for sure.
Well, think about this. So, yes, he's been there before, but Vettel, his contract ends at the end of this next season at Ferrari. How do you think the relationship is with Fernando to come in? Because it's also rumored that Vettel's going to retire at that point.
Yeah, I mean Vettel has. I don't think he can do too much more there. Certainly with Hamilton in the game as well. I don't know whether. I mean, I don't think Alonso's anywhere close to Red Bull. The philosophy is the young drivers. So the 2 teams he's going to pick, well, 3 teams, will be how McLaren getting on with the Mercedes engine at that point, and then whether Ferrari want to take him back. They know what he can do, but also is there another Leclerc floating around? So
sure,
he wants to get back in, but whether there's a space at the top, I'm not sure. And then, of course, the Mercedes guys have got quite a few horses in the stable ready to go as well on that side. So
they always do, don't they?
Yeah,
that pipeline is. And we've had so many of those young drivers on the show here before. I mean, we had Lando Norris on the show early days. God, he was at the Toyota Racing Series. We had Lance Stroll on early days, but what about some things to look for today? We talked about one of the funnest ones, I think, will be Bottas coming up through. We got to watch to see if the Ferrari cars can stay out of each other's way. Anything
looks like they're on a different strategy. So
well, hopefully that'll help. Yes, different tire strategy.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave? What do you anything specific looking forward in today's race?
Looking at the qualifying there, I think there'd be a decent midfield dust up there. Be nice to see McLaren do something again.
Yeah.
There. Albon, he's been knocking on the door. I don't know if Red Bull have got the pace there to get the podium, but they've got Max, haven't they? So he always he's always worth half a second. Yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, I think that it's some of the things we can watch for also. I mean, because there's a handful of things that are not wrapped up. Obviously the championship wrapped up, but we've got P3 between Verstappen and Leclerc, and that's still not officially wrapped up yet. And there's, with midfield battles and things like that, there's going to be plenty to watch for today and plenty of good racing. But you know what, guys? Let's go ahead and take our last break. We are right now about 20 minutes from the start of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussions and get our predictions and get ready for the race. You're listening to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM. Back after these messages.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM.
See, Max sounded confident and nice, and
he's not 19 years old.
He's not 19 anymore. Yeah, guys, we're excited to have our guest, Dave O'Neill, former Haas F1 team manager, in studio. But I want to play a couple of clips. We talked about Lando Norris. We talked a lot about him, and one of his things that he does to help engage his fans is gaming, and he gets on he apparently invites anybody to watch and game with him while he's gaming online in the racing games. And we've got a little clip here of him talking about that. Let's play this with Lando Norris.
It's something I've done since I was 5 years old, even younger. I'm playing on the PlayStation, playing Gran Turismo. And obviously I've grown up a lot with it, but I also love it. Every time I go back home, playing on my simulator, being competitive, driving, but also then streaming it on Twitch, letting my viewers see it, being more interactive with the fans, whoever. So it's always something I've loved doing since I was very young. McLaren are partnered with Dell, and Dell's gaming side is Alienware. So they have some pretty cool stuff. So I got a whole load of kit from them, which is very nice. But
Alienware, that's...
We visited Dell yesterday, actually, so it was pretty cool.
I mean, Alienware, that's the top, that's as good as it gets.
Exactly. That's why I got, and it looks cool. It looks cool. So, I mean, I got all of that for the PC specs and monitors and everything. But for the simulator, I have one called a Pro Sim, which is same as what Carlos has got, actually. And it's Yeah, it's the best you can get effectively for having it at home without having a huge room like at Formula One level kind of stuff. But yeah, proper pedals, proper steering wheel, proper everything to make it as real as.
Wow. We're just watching the flyover and 250,000 people, you said?
Yeah, 1975, and now there's 9 million, and 80%
Oh,
of
yeah.
those are expats.
The growth, yeah, in Abu Dhabi is insane. Wasn't that great with Lando Norris talking about? He was talking about the hardware he uses for PC gaming, and he was like Alienware, and he said, yeah, and it looks cool too. He's such a kid. It's great. I love it. Hey, I want to play one more clip, and we're about 15 minutes from the race now, but I want to play this clip. We got to do an exclusive interview with Chase Carey, the CEO of Formula One for Liberty Media.
I heard somebody call him the stash. I can understand why, but I'm not sure that phrase is going to stick.
I tell you what, if you're looking for him in the paddock, you can't miss him with his stash.
Respect the stash.
He's got that handlebar mustache. But we talked to him about the United States market, and it's been a recurring theme. If you listen to Speed City for years, we've talked about trying to grow the sport, and I think it is growing in the United States. But we asked Chase Carey specifically about that. Let's hear what he said. So obviously, the United States is a key market for Formula One. Do we think we have a good shot at getting Miami done? And what do we, the collective we, have to do to help grow the sport here in the United States?
Well, I mean, we do believe the sport has enormous potential for growth here in the United States. Adding an event, we're very proud of this event here in Austin. But I think adding another event in a destination location like Miami or Las Vegas, we think would add another dimension to it. Miami, we're deeply engaged in. We still got some issues to get through, but they're active and we're working on it. I think as much as anything, you need to give fans the opportunity to engage and follow the sport and take advantage of all the ways you can do it. I mean, clearly the world today, you're an example of it, can connect and follow, the sports, the teams, the heroes, in ways they never could in the past. And when we came into Formula One a couple of years ago, Formula wasn't really doing a lot of those things. And I think as we've given fans an opportunity to follow the sport on media platforms and social media in other ways. We've actually found great take-up in the U.S. as we've pursued initiatives like the show on Netflix, if we've pursued initiatives like our esports competition. I think all of those things enable fans to engage and follow, have a show on Sirius, a channel on Sirius. So all of these things, I think, give fans an ability to engage, follow, to enjoy the sport and appreciate the sport. And I think we need to continue to build on that, build on teams in the U.S. Haas is a U.S.-based team. We're proud to have Haas in the sport. I think we can continue to build on, that and get broader participation. Look, we'd love to have a U.S. driver. I mean, in the past, used to have many U.S. drivers. I was talking to Mario Andretti in Milan earlier this year. So in the past, we had some great, U.S. drivers. So it's a building process. We said early on, building the sport in the U.S. was an important priority, but it was one that would take time. It wasn't we're in, we're in the middle of our third year. This was not a 2 to 3 year process. This was building the sport in the U.S. is a 5 to 10 year process. But we've really been excited about the reaction and response as we've given U.S. fans more opportunities to engage, whether it's at fan festivals, this event, attendance is going to be way up, this weekend, digital media, other platforms, have all, further encouraged us about the appetite and interest and excitement about the sport here in the U.S.
Yeah, and I really do hope that Miami happens. I mean, here in Austin, there's that controversial opinion whether a second race would diminish Austin in some way, but I just think I think Miami in particular, it's so close to Europe, you'll get people over. I still think it would be a great thing for the sport here in the United States.
I agree. And here's one of the things. I mean, being the last race, we often talk about our favorite event or favorite time of the season. To be quite honest, it was USGP and meeting so many people that were new to Formula One that have listened to us and are learning and joining in and getting caught into it. I think it's beginning to be that infectious sport that we've been wanting it to be.
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it? It really does. We got the television on. It looks like the weather is fantastic. It's about 80 degrees. And of course, it'll be dropping in temperature as the sun sets. And we happen to have a gentleman who knows a little bit about what happens to cars and to airs and all those things when the temperature drops. Dave, what about an environment like that where it's going to probably drop fairly dramatically? You know, some races it may not drop hardly at all. Maybe a rise in temperature, but a drop in temperature is obviously a little different than most.
Yeah, and it's kind of that's how the cars tend to go quicker is the drop in temperature. One of the things that doesn't drop as quick around there is the surface temperature. You know, it still holds a lot of heat in the tarmac just because the temperature doesn't get right down in the evenings. Um, it's good. It's good for the cars. It's good for the tires, and it's very consistent as well. I think that's why the teams and drivers like it is the consistency with the temperature there.
As a fan, I love to see these different races in different times of day like this. What about you guys as a team? Is it a little bit exciting to have something different like this where you're racing into the night?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit mystique over there. The wind's always blowing. You have a nice breeze, nice warm breeze. Doesn't It's never humid really, and that place watching the sun go down is pretty special.
Yeah,
so,
the photographs with the cars in the sunset are just amazing to see that.
Yeah.
So we are now 8 minutes from the start of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and we're looking at the paddock. I mean, the garages and everybody walking around. What about what's happening right now in the Haas garage, Dave? Are they what's all the team going through right now?
Well, in the garage at this minute in time, with I think there's 8 minutes to go. Hopefully, all the chairs are set up with the water bottles out, and normally they have cold towels for the mechanics when they run back. From there, it's not too bad. You have to run up and then run back down again, so it's probably half a mile run for them. Then they come back. So the garages will be set up. All the air bottles for the pit stops will be set up at this point because they have to move them out of the way to get the cars out of the garage to do the formation lap to the grid. So there'll only generally be 5 or 6 people back in the garage. The rest of them will be on the grid, and then everyone will be on the pit wall. The team manager will be doing the countdown. Any messages that come through from race control will be transported over to the team. It's a very quiet time. Can only sort of relate it to going to church and being quiet, waiting for someone to speak. It's a quiet time. Everyone knows what they've got to do. Everything's run off the clock on that side. So the guys on the grid will be run by either the number one mechanic or the race engineer. So he'll have a clipboard and he'll go through everything second by second, all the instructions when the tyres have got to be put on, etc. So yeah, it's more of a SOP, standard operating procedure now for everyone. As you can see, the cars are going down on the stands on the tyres.
You mentioned tires, and that was one thing I noticed at USGP was, I know they're talking about going away from tire warmers in the near future, but I was watching, and it seemed like the guy with the clipboard had it truly down to the second when he issued the command to remove the tire warmers.
Yeah.
What kind of data goes into that?
Loads, really. You'd be surprised. So at the beginning of the year, the tires are heated up to said temperature, whether it's 110, 120. They normally come out of the bags, and then all the sensors on the car, the tire TPMS sensor, so it'll tell you what the pressures are. So it's really important to have the tires out at the last second. Otherwise the heat you lose from them, which in turn is the grip.
Yeah, and I had the general high level area of it, but just that he was the one guy, and I'm trying to think which team it was. I saw that happening. I was standing back behind the guy with the clipboard, and it was like that seemed like that was very precise, very choreographed in that time, not just, yeah, take the warmers off, we're about to go. It seemed like it was very methodical in that command.
Yep, 100%. It's it is down to the second, and even testing the drinks bottle on the grid. As soon as the driver gets in, they have to push the button with 8 minutes to go to make sure the drink system works. The amount of fuss that's happened in the past when the drinks doesn't work, 30 seconds before the driver's got to go in and race in a climate like this is.
You got to put yourself in the driver's shoes too. They've got their routine.
Yeah.
And if something like that, I mean, it seems not necessarily mission critical, but it throws you off. Everybody's got their routine, and they're sitting there, and my drink doesn't work, and maybe that's what they're thinking about. It could throw off their whole race.
Yeah, and that's what they rely on to keep their heart rate where it is.
Yeah.
They have all this sort of thing planned, so it's really important to make sure that 10 minutes as the countdown happens, everything is adhered to, and of course it's practiced as well.
Well, we just got someone who sent us a message and is so ecstatic to have you in studio. He's just, loving the fact that we've got someone with your knowledge, and is excited to have you. So we appreciate it too, Dave.
Thank you.
We are now, let's see, about 3 minutes. I think it's time to talk about our predictions and our hopes. What we like to do, Dave, is predict a winner with the logic, and then who we want to see. And I'll let you start off, Mr. Kaiser.
Oh, man. It's going to go with Mercedes from the logic standpoint. And
I'm assuming you mean Lewis Hamilton.
No, I actually want Bottas. He's had a rough week personally away from track, and I'd like to see him walk away with a win.
Okay. So that's your heart guess?
That's a little of both.
All right. Well, I'm going to say, my head's going to say Lewis Hamilton, and I would love to see Max Verstappen win this. All right, we just got a few seconds left, Dave. Sorry. Who do you?
Leclerc.
Okay. I would love to see that, and it's a pretty logical guess, too. All right, well, don't forget, we'll be here after the race. Stay tuned for the BBC's broadcast of the play-by-play. And, of course, write down the phone number, 512-643-5483. Call us after the race for our 1-hour post-race show. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you in a couple hours.